Hi, today I'm going to talk about gaming with ADD. Now, ADD is part of the neuropsychiatric diagnoses that you can get. Among them are Asperger, ADHD, which is basically they share a lot of the same things, but you don't have the hyper part, and autism and Tourette syndrome and other like that are also part of this. Neuropsychiatric means that you are wired, your brain is wired a little bit differently than what would constitute a normally wired brain. I am under the impression that everybody has a little bit of everything. It's just independent, or it's dependent on if there's low on something or high or something that makes it, stand out or make you have disadvantages or even advantages in certain areas. For example, some workplaces actually they prefer to hire people with a certain diagnosis because those people tend to be really good at a certain thing that they acquire in that job. So we're not just talking about disadvantages here or handicaps. You could very well also have benefits. This is also why I think many of the many of conclusions have been drawn like that many great artists or geniuses have had one or several of these types of diagnoses. So it's not all bad, and if you have any of them yourself, it might turn out to be to your advantage, or you'll learn to adapt and live with it in a perfectly symbiotic way, or how I should say. In my case, and again, you can have really sometimes it's really obvious from a very young age that you have one of these things, or it could be you are just above you tick enough of these things that it actually do affect you, or that you can see it. Many people are just below, they have some difficulties, or they have some traits, that could indicate it, but they are just below it, or they don't have enough of it to actually affect them in any way, and then it doesn't, count as it. But everybody has, things that they are very good at, things that are a problem for them, things that comes very natural to them. We all have these, so we could say that we all have these different bars, and some are top high, some have all low, some go all the way up and down like that, and so it can be really tricky to really say, well, A, B, or C, and well, like I said, sometimes it's obvious. You see in movies where they're oh, this is how autism spectrum people are. Not necessarily. Those are usually extreme cases, or even almost caricatures of how it can present itself, or how these people can react and be. And sometimes the problem for most people is that they could be misdiagnosed, because it can be really hard to say. It's either this or that, or a combination of both, or 3 or 4, or at least nowadays people are actually interested in trying to figure this out, and they're interested in giving the right diagnoses, because right diagnoses can help you cope and you can live perfectly happy, and the wrong diagnoses can actually bring you down and make it even harder. So that's why I think it's really good to live in this day and age, when we don't just look at, say, a child and say, oh, he's just being lazy, or she's just stupid, or it's a far trickier far trickier than that. It's not black and white in any way. But I was going to talk about gaming with ADD in my case and from my experiences, but I keep rambling on, as I always do. So, when it comes to my experiences as a gamer, and yes, I do call myself a gamer, even if I'm a casual one, I sort of protect myself by calling myself a casual gamer, because then I can lower my expectations of myself, and also for others, that they don't get high expectations of my performances. Even if I have 2,000 hours in a game, I may still have difficulties with it. You can't automatically say, oh, if you have played X amount of hours in this game, you have to be perfect at it, you have to know every tactic and adaptation and teamwork or whatever, or it's, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So on the other hand as well, now with all the, you know, duplicate accounts that people have, you can't say, look at someone playing only 5 hours in something and say, oh, that person must be shit at it because he's only had 5 hours of experience with this game, because that person could have played this game 2 million hours on another account, or be extremely well adapted at a game, and caught, you know, picked up everything to it in a fairly short amount of time compared to what would be considered, again, normal. Normal is a word that I have to use, but I dislike immensely. What is normal? You know. Anyway, for me, I don't have it so severe. That sounds like a negative word, but you know what I mean. It doesn't affect me to such an immense or high amount as it could. So I'm rather lucky in that sense. How it can affect me is usually by I need a lot of time to learn. I easily stress, and when I stress I get blocked and it's hard to do several things at once. I have better and worse days. Sometimes, some days everything is fantastic and I feel like on top of the world and it goes smooth sailing, more or less. You should never compare yourself with others either, because then there's always going to be someone greater and lesser than yourself. So I try to remember to look at my own progress, and so yeah, sometimes I can actually almost like forget everything that I've learned. It doesn't necessarily stick with me as it should. I'm gonna do a lot of this in this video. But I love gaming. I enjoy gaming so much. It's almost one of the things that I feel that I do best. And also I have no problem, you know, communicating like this or talking, you know, but if I'm really stressed and there's a lot of things going on at the same time, or, you know, I have a bad day, essentially, then I can almost lose, like, the ability to normally function word-wise as well. All my words are gone. I don't know how to explain. People will be like, what are you doing? Are you daft? You've done this a million times before, and now all of a sudden you're like dropping it completely all over the place. And that's just part of it. It's one of those days. So yeah, that's why I can, like, get lost on maps in games that I've played for like I play that map 2 million times and I can still get lost on it. That's one of the things that can happen. You can usually acclimatize if you're, like, following others, uh, you know, you can like work around it, right? Embarrassing though if it's a single player game. But then you usually don't have the pressure of teamwork or the threat of the other team on you, but you can actually take your time, and you know, that's another thing. I usually have to take a lot of time, give myself a lot of time, put it that way. That's also why I'm a bit scared of doing some Let's Plays and stuff, because I feel that it would be rather frustrating and not so entertaining for people to watch someone who is quote-unquote bad at a game. No matter why they appear to be bad. They might not be actually bad from their own standpoint. I mean, if for me to make Portal, for example, is a fucking miracle. That would be like the Nobel Prize-worthy achievement if I do that all on my own, functioning the way I do, you know. So another thing is that I like to keep, like, say, hints and tips on throughout playing the game. I never feel like, oh, I got this now, because one of those days we're gonna come when I'm like, wait, what? And also when some people say, well, just remap buttons. For me, it can be even more of a chore and a job, and harder even, to remap buttons than to actually just learn how they are from the beginning, or how they were implemented by the game developers in the first time. For me, it's just like, oh my god, no, I have to remap keys. It feels like a heavy burden on my shoulders. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's just because that's one of those things that I have trouble with. And it might actually be harder for me to do that than to learn, to adapt to learning how to play the games with other keys than I'm used to. It's really strange, but that's how it works for me sometimes. Because I can sit in the menu and like it's stuck there for hours on end trying to figure out which key to set where. And if there's a lot of them and there's a lot of choices, then I get stuck with, did I use E for something? Oh, I did. What can I use instead? E? No, I used E. Maybe E? No. Oh. And, you know, it sounds ridiculous, but that's one of the issues that may come up. So, likewise, I want to make the perfect avatar, for example, if you're doing character customization. So I have like hours in Oblivion, and those hours were spent in trying to tweak my character, and then I didn't figure out how to defeat the rats in the beginning of when you're trying to escape the castle that you're locked up in the very first mission. Another thing that you can tell with me is that I tend to like repetition. I can get like really stressed or confused when something changes. I tend to like to plan out to do something a certain way, and I can have trouble acclimatizing or adjusting when something changes that. I am drawn to repetition. I tend to find that less boring than most people would. I can find it appealing, and I can sort of relax in the thought that I do the same thing again and again and again. I don't necessarily look for an increasing challenge. Like many games are built up around that to increase challenge and to make you grow. For me, that could actually be something unattractive and stressful. So in that sense, it breaks me down rather than builds me up. I also can get extremely stressed out by too much to do, say like big open world games. I just feel stressed out about there's just too much to see and too much to do, and then it's not enjoyable for me. It's not always the case, but it can be the case that some of those things are off-putting for me, and I don't feel, you know, it's not appealing to me in the sense that it should be. Likewise with too many skills to learn, or too much to like you can have so many different attacks or a huge amount. I tend to learn a routine that I like and stick to that. That's why you can sometimes see me playing a game and it's like, well, why don't you ever tackle, or why don't you ever use your special attack on the so and so? That's the reason why. So these are things that people can find really hard to understand, but it is what it is. And hopefully I can spread some, understanding that people are different, people function differently, things are going to be harder or easier for different people, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with intelligence, it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with skill or even experience. But it can be done, it's fine. Don't be discouraged, either by what other people tell you, or what kind of feedback you get from your, teammates or random online gamers or whatnot. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I hope I spread the word a little bit at least, and cut each other some slack and think that people might be doing or not doing something for a reason, and it's usually not such a big deal anyway. Alright, see you next time, bye.